Happy Thankful Thursday, April 2nd, and welcome to another episode of Style by Stevie. We are here with the one and only Andre Hollings, host of Thought and Opinion podcast, and he is also the author of Untamed. Now, before we dive into that and getting into your story, how has 2026 been for you thus far?
It's been fantastic. It's been marvelous. I've been telling some friends of mine that my life is in a very good place. I'm thoroughly enjoying 2026 so far. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome, and special shout out and thank you to Boys Love Flowers. He said so much about you in our conversation and told me about your podcast and recommended you come on the show. And here we are. And I've seen some of the
He's too
topics that
kind.
that you've covered on your podcast as well, and it's both in sync. Hi, if you're just coming into my fashion dolls out there, shout outs to my girls, Alexis, Diva, happy Thursday, Chef Sky. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you guys are coming in, we are here with Andre Hollings. We're going to just be discussing a few things, bridging the gap and getting into Andre's story. I love, and you always send me like clips and teasers of the
Mhm.
conversations that you've had on your podcast. So before we get into all of the things, thought, and opinion, tell us a little bit about your backstory, Andre, where you grew up and how many siblings.
I'm 48 years old. I was born in Mobile, Alabama, and that's where the nucleus of my family still lives. But I always tell people that I'm from Tennessee because when I go back home, that's where the heart is. I have family and friends there. But I was born in Mobile. I moved to Los Angeles with family in 1998. So I've been here for more than 25 years at this point.
Wow.
Is there anything
And
else? Anything specific that you want to know?
how's that? What was that transition like from you going from Mobile, Alabama to all the way to LA?
Going to Tennessee was a breath of fresh air when I moved there, but I started going there during the summers around 8, 9, 10. The people in Tennessee were extremely welcoming, immensely hospitable. It was a kindness that I had never witnessed before. Coming to Los Angeles, it was different. LA is a big city, and it's easy to become lonely in a city like Los Angeles. Thankfully, I have community, but moving here initially was a culture shock. The size, the socioeconomic condition of Los Angeles. So there was a transition period that I had to enter into. But LA is now home, and at this point, I can't see living anywhere else.
And that is it. You go to places, and my mother, she even told me this. I
Mm.
formed that connection with you both from the South. I'm not from Alabama. I'm from South Carolina. So we
Okay,
know a lot
yeah.
of us have come from down here. You got the Godfather, Soul, James Brown. You've got Viola Davis, and then the
Hmm.
late Chadwick Boseman. They all come from down here in South Carolina. That's how we form a connection. That's why I asked that question because I always try to find camaraderie with my guest and a common ground or commonality, like
Hmm.
things that we have in common, and that is from we're both from the South. And to your statement, LA, that is true. It is like a culture shock because you're going to see everything. One, the culture is different.
Absolutely.
It's the same is in New York because originally my mom is born and raised down here in South Carolina, and
Hmm.
then my is from New York. So
Mm.
taught me so much about New York and how the culture shift was there, the atmosphere, the
That's an
everything is different.
that's an
Yeah,
interesting combination, South Carolina and New York. To
yeah.
your point, the conflicting cultures. That makes for potential clashes, conflicts, but smooth transitions if everything is aligned. That's an interesting story you have.
Yes. And it's like a lot of people think city, but I'm not. No, I'm a little old Southern girl, South Carolina, right down here. That
I can
Southern
tell the Southern is coming
Cali.
out when you put it like that.
Yes, you know, as they would say for Terry Ellis of In Vogue, she's a Southern girl too.
Yep.
The tea and crumpets, get the tea and crumpets. So for me, I'm gonna give you lemonade. I'm gonna give you tea. Welcome you. Make sure you know that Southern hospitality. how we
Very
are.
much
How,
so. That's how I grew up. My grandmother always had lemonade and coffee, a fresh pot of coffee brewing at all times, just in case somebody stopped by. So that's what I'm accustomed to.
yes, yes, yes. And that's what it's all about, finding those commonalities with each other. Hi,
Hmm.
Miss Egyptian Flower. How are you? Yes, shout outs to you, girl. Shout outs to you, Chrissy. I see you, boo. And thank you for that text. Chrissy always sends me a text in the day of have a great day, have a great morning, all of these things. Appreciate it. And speaking of the slice of life and blending cultures, Andre, what I love about Thought and Opinion, your podcast, is that you provide understanding and you do it with nuance. It's the same way I do it. So we both have that in
Mm.
common. We have conversations with our guests and we always try to find something did in common with
I've
them.
noticed
And we
that about your show. Absolutely.
not only just that, but you find a way to you do what my shout outs to my colleague, you guys know him, Conscious TV. Uh
Yeah.
what Conscious does and what you do is you try to bridge the gap and bring different sides together. I love Miss Stevie, but NC gives the best hospitality. Just kidding. You know who's in NC? My cousin. My cousin, who is also co-owner of Style by Stevie Talk Show. She was on with me not too long ago. My cousin Sherry Martin. She's in North Carolina, but she's a New York girl. So we're from New York down here to the Carolinas. So again, that hospitality. So how important is it that we continue to bridge the gap and have these conversations with our guests and find common grounds, Andre?
I think for the LGBTQ plus community at this moment, and this has always been the moment in American history, it's incredibly important. I don't want people to think that Donald Trump's presidency is off brand for America. This is in our day, as far as his overt, blatant homophobia, it's new because it's so overt, so blatant. He does not shield it, he does not hide it at all. But in American history, that is the norm. That is the traditional American pattern. As a historian once said, America was founded on massive crimes. And one of those crimes is anti LGBTQ hate. So I think for us throughout the country history, it's important for us to develop community, to actually see and hear each other, not just now, but it's always been that way. If anything, Donald has rejuvenated the hate in the public square, but it's always been that way. So I think it's still incredibly important.
And y'all know why I'm smiling. And I took that drink of water. It's your Andre, and y'all have been seeing my stories. Miss Stevie has been very opinionated
Hmm.
all things. I call him Orange Piggy over here, Andre. So
I'm good
my
with
colleague,
that. Go with it.
yes, because he loves to call female journalists Piggy. And
Hmm.
I said, what can stick with this since he likes to call women that are telling people the truth, journalists, Piggy? I'm gonna call. She's orange and he's shaped like a pig. Well, he's shaped like a deep freezer, my personally. But let me
That's very
behave myself.
Southern, a deep freezer. That's
Yes,
very Southern.
let, let me behave myself because I have been tearing him up these past few couple of months. Have y'all been seeing the rollbacks of everything that has been harmful to us that is in the LGBTQ community? And we just not too long ago celebrated. I had Nico Love on the show. We were talking
Hmm.
about how harmful his policies were. And he was saying the importance of getting out and voting and how propaganda
Absolutely.
works. That right now with a lot of black celebrities who have now joined the MAGA train.
Hmm.
And yes, Lizzo warned back in December that what happened where you see a lot of celebrities fall into the trap and continue to do what he's doing, which is indoctrinating people. When you can get people all aligned, which is homophobia, which has been around for decades. I mean, first thing,
From the
even if you go,
founding of the country.
yeah, Bayard Rustin fought for equality for everyone, but they didn't look at, being black too. They looked at his sexuality, which is what we're seeing
Absolutely.
right now. And with the whole Jade and Ivy situation, how they are weaponizing two things. And you've covered this on your podcast, and I was just like, my God, get out of my head, Andre. More and more like my colleague Bubs the God because Bubs has covered this on his. as well too. And he and shout outs to Bossman. They have something space where
Mm.
they have these conversations, you know, heterosexual man's perspective, and then you also have a man who's in the LGBTQ plus communities perspective, and it's so brilliant. And sometimes me, I'm the only, since I represent trans women and speak for all trans women, because we are also losing our lives at an alarmingly high rate.
Absolutely, you may
I
be
would,
target number
yeah,
one for Donald.
and that's exactly what he did during the election. They don't want us in the bathrooms. We've seen what they
Mhm.
just did with legislation, where take down names of trans people who bathrooms. Now, why are you recording people's names? Another thing that he did as well too, if you don't turn in those driver's license, trans people are having to leave the city
Mhm.
that they're in to go to a place that is safer. And as you said with Los Angeles, for LGBT people, that is like an asylum. It is like a haven to see all cultures, all backgrounds. New York is the same way as well too, and that's why he continues to attack these cities that are more open or more expressive. And they're turning back the clock to a time where we didn't have a voice, where we would have, you go
Mhm.
back to Germany, we would have on our clothes, all of us in the queer community, because they didn't want to be recognized as human beings. And that's what you're seeing right now is the erasure and the eradication of our existence. And it's all across the board.
Absolutely.
Trans people, pan, and so many that are a part of our community. And I think that intersectionality is important, especially right now more than ever, because what we're up against bigger than all of us. This is not democracy, and
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people are like, I don't know what it is. The word of the day. This is Sesame Street. Word of the day. The word of the day,
Mm.
fashion dolls, is authoritarianism. Remember that. Know it, understand it, it. Another word of the day, fashion dolls, is totalitarianism, where we weaponize and have total control what people see, what people hear. I was watching Celebrity Name Game the other day, Andre, when I tell you, Democrats are helping illegals. ICE agents are getting hurt.
Mm.
Since when? ICE agents are not a mother of three that lost their lives for recording and their freedom of speech. ICE agents are not a medical worker who is out here helping people who are injured. ICE agents is a man unarmed that lost his life, Keith Porter.
Mhm.
When you say we're hurting ICE agents, no, no, baby. It's the other way around. They're hurting us. They're terrorizing us. I said this in my story earlier today. If you guys follow me on Instagram, now by Stevie
Mhm.
underscore daytime. When I go out for my morning walks, I just rant, scream, I cuss, I let it all out. I'm angry, and I just let it out.
And we all should be.
Uh, what we're seeing right now is them. It's the government against the people. Where it should be working
Mhm.
for us, the people, you're not working for people. You're working to enrich yourself. This war with Iran to enrich his pockets. He says it's for the children. And now you want to increase the draft age 42 years old? Name one 42-year-old who's going to say, I'm in the war and fight for a country that ain't did nothing to us. This is not the time to play nice. They're not playing nice. They're not playing fair. So I wouldn't be
I've
surprised. Yeah, go ahead, Andre. I'm sorry.
To your point, I've always noticed that Democrats like to stay above the fray.
Yep.
We don't want to be divisive. But anytime you voice an opinion, anytime you take a position, you are by nature going to create division. And as a black gay man, I cannot look at America's history and find any time in the annals of our history when the country has been united for us. So for me, division is not at all a bad thing. It is a necessity. It is a must. So you're right. The government traditionally, normally in American history is weaponized against black gay people, against the LGBTQ plus community. That is the norm for this country. And Donald has reinvigorated it. He has added public, blatant fuel to it. And to your point, we are the target, especially our trans loved ones. They are number one on his radar.
And that's exactly what he did. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
from wanting to make to be trans in Texas, I mean, you could go
Absolutely.
all to all the other cities as well too. You want to ban drag shows, but let me not go there.
Go there.
Uh,
You should go
I'm
there.
seeing Christy Noem's husbands,
Mm.
and that's I'm pretty sure y'all have seen that. But we're not gonna shame over Republicans. Y'all are some of the biggest hypocrites. Y'all other shout outs, and I just mentioned you, Bubs. Bubs, you've been missing the shout outs, baby. I mentioned you. Andre meet Bubs, Bubs meet my colleague, Bubs the God, and y'all at
What's
chat.
going on?
Bubs just hit a huge milestone. 1,000 subs here on YouTube. So y'all head on over and
Wow.
subscribe to his channel. Bubs, I'm glad that you're watching me face to face so that I can tell you because I know we've been so busy. But Bubs, what you've been doing, you and Conscience, and share this with y'all have been on fire, and I've been right there in the chat. I might catch all the lives because I be sleeping. Bubs makes fun of me sleep, and he knows that I'm not going to camera. I'm like Patty LaBelle. I'm not gonna come on camera unless I'm glammed up, honey. So,
I respect that. I respect
but
that.
yes, but you doing what you're doing, and he is working on something. So there's an author by
Mm.
the name of Black Anarchist podcast, and he wrote a book called "Blame It on the Dress." Talks about intersectionality. It talks about how there is a war amongst us in the Black community as it pertains to and choosing your Black.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
when I bring up Christy Noem's husband, why is it that femininity is publicly and shamed? Why is it that someone who cross dresses or experiments with gender is looked down upon? That is hyper masculinity. That is
Welcome to
basically
America.
looking
That has always been America's perspective, America's war to rage, to oppress, to repress, to subdue, to make subservient what isn't their idealized or exaggerated masculinity. And so, again, to me, Donald fits in the history of America's context. He fits right in doing what most American presidents maybe haven't done in front of the camera as much as he has or as much as he does, but they have done it. It's his war that he now rages or wages,
thank
I should say.
thank you, Andre, because see, this war wouldn't even been started. And I use this analogy. When you swat nest, when you're a child and you like to pick up twigs
Mhm.
from outside and pretend like it's a magic wand. I remember I used to do that all the time. And I saw a hornet's nest. What do you do at a hornet's nest?
They attack. You
And that's
provoke them, they
what
attack.
Iran is doing right now. Bingo,
Mhm.
Andre. So you went and you got us in a war that had that could have been avoided. Iran
Yeah,
was
there,
not a
there
threat.
was no, there's no evidence with respect to intelligence, the intelligence community, the national intelligence estimate that promulgated that Iran at this moment was en route to developing a nuclear weapon. This is a war that Benjamin Netanyahu wanted. He's always wanted this war. And from one perspective, looking at the creation of the Jewish state, I can see the hyper need, the hyper vigilance that our Israeli and Jewish loved ones have. But in the case of Bibi Netanyahu, this was a choice. And I think it has a tremendous amount to do with the household that he was raised in. His father was a well known scholar. And in his father's mind, he said there was always evil at the door, always persecution, genocide awaiting the Jewish people. You cannot close your eyes to it. Bibi imbibed that. And we can see that in his personality. So this was his choice. He pushed Donald into it. Donald is the decider. He said yes. It is an illegal war, like essentially every war that America has waged since World War II, with the exception, I would say, of Desert Shield, which became Desert Storm. But there was nothing with respect to nuclear weaponry, no threat to America, nothing along those lines that created this war. This was a choice by American and Israeli leadership, a choice that I would say is a homicidal mission, but it was a choice.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Bubs, I
No,
don't know if Bubs is still here. My apologies, Queen. I've been, especially since I've acquired a new camera to do some photography work. Bubs, we were talking about, and he's done a lot of videos, Andre, on this about the religious sector, how they are prosecuting, especially over, if you look in other countries, Uganda, they punish people for living, for breathing, and even being. And it's just
mm-hmm,
like they're unaliving people. They're taking people's lives just for breathing, for existence. And I said this in my stories this the previous day before. I've been watching, y'all been loving my morning rants. And it's just like y'all caught me without the wig and everything, but thank God I
yes,
got a
I
wig.
noticed that. I noticed that.
Yes, yes, glam, everything. I'm like, just wake up beautiful as you are, no makeup, nothing.
Mm-hmm,
Let everybody see the real you. But my rants are so therapeutic for me. And I said in one of those rants, as much as you try, you cannot erase the LGBTQ plus community. I've been here for decades, for eons. Shout outs to my colleague Deshaun. He sent me pictures. It goes all the way back to BC. So if you want to talk wearing dresses or as you would say being feminine, what is the problem? Why is LGBT people the problem? And on some of this on your podcast, Thought and Opinion. Make sure you guys please go and support it. And also,
thank you.
you've had a heavy discussion as well too, being a father in the LGBTQ plus community, fatherhood and the LGBTQ plus community, because they don't think that we in the queer community can procreate. We can.
No,
I
no,
and
they,
I've made it very. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
people oftentimes think that the APA in the 70s discontinued categorizing homosexuality, being gay, as a mental disorder. That took place over a series of years and to one degree or another officially ended in the 1980s. But the stigma of it being dangerous to children to be raised by gay parents still festers in America. It still bubbles over. So I wanted to give voice to Black gay men who, after coming out, decided to pursue their dream of fatherhood. I wanted to confront the lie, and America is a land of myths. I wanted to confront the lie that said Black men make for absentee fathers, and that being gay or being reared in the household of gay parents is harmful to children. Both are lies, and I think the episode called Fatherhood, thank you for noting it, helps to begin to dispel that myth. And statistically, if you're a Black father, the evidence is rife, it is ubiquitous. If you are a Black man and a father, the norm in our community is to be heavily involved in the lives of your children. That is, statistically speaking, the evidence demonstrates the norm. The opposite of that is what America likes to perpetrate, that we make for absentee fathers. So I wanted that episode to blend those two for Black gay men who, after coming out, decided to become fathers.
And that's the thing. Like queer people, even in our own communities, if you go to the ballroom culture,
Mm-hmm.
to create our own families as a result of that. Y'all know where
Absolutely. Yes.
y'all know where I'm going, and I'm pretty sure Andre knows where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hit the home run out the park. Paris is Burning
Mm-hmm.
has taught us all about the ballroom culture and how queer people have had to, when they've been put out. We've seen it on shows like Pose. We've seen it when queer people are out of their homes because they are living, they are breathing, they are existing. We are walking in our light. It's too much for some
Mm-hmm.
of our family members. Tammy Roman, I hope that shoe fly touches and agrees with your spirit.
People
We're
oftentimes act when they push someone out, to your point, for being gay, for being transgender, they often sit in the seat of God Himself. They make everything about them and give themselves some self-imposed sovereignty, omniscience, and omnipotence to decide for another human being what is right for them. That is a malicious, hellish, pompous burden to bear. But that is what people do when they oust someone, when they blacklist them for not being what they expect them to be. That's a God complex. And I must say, and we don't use this word as often as we should, it is evil. Evil is the only appropriate word to think that you can sit on God's throne, whatever your idea, version, vision of God is, that you can sit on the throne and impose what you have decreed is right for someone else. That is a strident, overt form of oppression, and it is evil. That's the only appropriate word to use.
Thank you, Andre. Because shout outs to my girl Faith is the Substance. Y'all go and check her out. And she says, salutations. Hello. Yes, all of my colleague friends are here. We got Bubs, the God. And I'm gonna keep Bubs because Bubs has done several lives on this. And shout out as well to Boss Man's is called The Religious Conundrum, where they talk about how people weaponize religion. And this
Oh,
is exactly what they're doing right now. Jaden Ivey is the prime example of that. A
mhm.
lot of people's like, oh, he can't have his faith, he can't have his belief. Yeah, you can have your beliefs, but it's one thing when you hinge upon my beliefs. Because see, my mother is I've had this conversation with my mother too. My mother's almost in a way like mommy dearest. Just kidding, y'all.
Mm.
Not like that.
I'm about to say,
But
I'm about to say.
no, but she will sometimes be like, okay, come on, let's pray. And I'll go on with her and I'll pray. And I'm like, okay, I pray in my own way. I have my own relationship with God. Everybody should have their own relationship with God. I'm wearing a mini dress. Hell, I mean, like everything is all the way out. I'm a yes, that's a sin. So if that means I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell gladly, looking fabulous. So to anybody out here who's weaponizing Christianity, anybody else to say, well, you're going to hell for this, you're going to hell for being, but being gay is the first sin that people point out. What about gluttony? What about
Gluttony,
cheating?
liars, cheaters, adulterers, fornicators. For someone like me, and everything that you said is absolutely correct. For someone like me, I do not believe that what we know as the canon, not including the Apocrypha, which Roman Catholics include, but what we know as the canon, I do not believe is of the divine mind. I do not buy into verbal plenary inspiration. I do not hold to infallibility. I do not hold to inerrancy. The Bible or the canon as we know it, for me, has some authority with respect to being historical. It can describe the geographical, the sociological, the socioeconomic conditions that the people of that time were living in. But with respect to being a book that provides authoritative morality, that conveys God's saving message, I do not believe that the Holy Spirit so carried along the writers of Scripture that what they wrote was inerrantly the very word of God, while at the same time including the personalities, the experiences of the human writers. That is to say, I don't believe in inspiration, biblically speaking. Therefore, why would I take a man made book and impose it upon somebody, carrying the burden on myself that God has instructed me to tell you this? That is a burden that could break anyone's back, and it's wrong scientifically. There is no evidence to back it up. It's all circular reasoning. And I would imagine that most of these people who espouse that if you are gay, you're going to hell, that if you are a transgender person, you are going to hell, most of them cannot
Norse
explain.
domination. Yeah.
Absolutely. Most cannot explain theologically, doctrinally, why do you believe that from Scripture? Walk me through a passage or two exegetically and explain to me why you believe that. Not why you've been told that it is true, but theologically, doctrinally, why do you believe it? So they do it out of hypocrisy. They do it out of willful ignorance, becoming a willful or a wanton dupe because they're going on what they have been told is true. So everything that you said, I simply wanted to reinforce that.
Absolutely. And to back up what Andre just said, agreed is called personal relationship. Yeah, has had conversations like this as well too. Even
Mhm.
Bootsy is a Trump supporter.
Yes.
And he's
Hmm.
one of the ones that has also weaponized. But you made a song about two red bones kissing in the back seat. Come on now, your daughter's in the community, and you use the same type of rhetoric that Jaden Ivey used, which is you call contamination. You called your daughter a contamination, and she's a part of the queer
Yeah,
community. So since we love
let,
to
let me.
weaponize scripture, let me my favorite scriptures because y'all love to quote Exodus and Leviticus to us in the queer
Mhm.
community. So one of mine's sister sister Bynum over here, okay? There is only one lawgiver and judge, the one who is able to save and destroy, but who judge your neighbor. And y'all are the main ones out here eating shellfish and passing judgment on the next person that's doing their things. You're looking at somebody else's shopping, what they got. Mind your own shopping cart over here. I see a lot of y'all going out. And I use that analogy because what you're doing is minding what the next person's doing shopping cart. When you go into a grocery store and you're in there and you're shopping, you go, you get your things, you put them in your shopping cart, and then you got people paying attention to what the next crab legs, or you got champagne, or you got macaroni and cheese. Why are you watching what I'm buying over here? Pay attention to your cart, and I'll pay attention to mine. So, with that being said, to all of the people out here who are so heavily religious and mind yours and yours only. My relationship with God is my relationship with God. There are people who identify as Christian, but they're spiritual. It's a big difference. They don't weaponize it heavily. Whereas my mom, she heavily Christian, heavily. Yeah, tell her some of the people that I've sat because she watches the show too. So she's known that the guests that I've had here were adult entertainers. She's known
Hmm.
exotic model. She knows that I've sat with everybody here on this platform. And then
As you
I've sat
should.
with this, and I remember sitting down with the dope film star Justin Long. And I said, my mama would kill me. I'm growing up with the Bible forever, Bible scripture.
Hmm.
But I'm not that kind of Christian. I don't weaponize my Christianity on somebody or impose onto someone's faith conversation about Jaden Ivey can't have free speech. Bootsy, no, it's not about free speech. It's about how your rhetoric causes harm to people who are in the same community that your daughter is in.
And I would say that rhetoric intentionally causes harm. You cannot say certain things in a particular way without the intention having been there first. So I think they're not simply putting things out there that people can use. There is an intention behind the statement, and then others run with that intention. And to your point about judging others, it says in the New Testament, don't judge because you are going to be judged with the same measure with which you judge. Which, to your earlier point, people talk about homosexuality, etc., sending people to hell. As you were saying earlier, gluttony, lying, adultery, essentially people like Donald Trump. And when he made the statement, I don't think I'm getting into heaven, he was absolutely right. If there is a version of heaven, as people like to believe, Donald will not be there. He is the epitome of all things that scripture teaches Christians to abstain from, to flee from. But they have prostituted themselves. They've whored themselves out by clinging to something, to someone that scripture says to flee from.
And what else I might say about that, the orange piggy, is that what he's done is he's turned a mirror onto the people who are so heavily religious to make us
Mhm.
see them for who they truly are.
Absolutely.
Y'all claim to be
Absolutely.
Christians, but you're not Christians. What you are Pharisees. Y'all are some of the biggest hypocrites they are. Now, and I take Christy Nome for example. You're seeing you're ripping apart families out here. I breaking up families. They're taking
Hmm.
mothers away from their children. They're not caring for people who are hurting, who are passing away. And now that the same problem has happened to you, your husband's cheating on you, it's like, whoa, it's me now. I didn't think it was going to
Right.
happen to me. Do you see how that law of reciprocity turns right back around? So the ones that
Mm.
are heavily religious and KKK Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, sits up here bragging about a prayer that she said as ICE is ripping apart families, as
Hmm.
the economy is going down the drain. Because he loves to say, are we winning? Are you done? Are you tired of winning? No, we're not winning. We're losing. And what you're doing is driving this economy down the drain. So the dollar value or the market value of the dollar pretty soon is going to go away. People not what we're going to use
Which,
for currency. That value.
which to your point, is why certain Arab countries have considered, and I think it's the GCC, the Gulf Cooperative Council, they have considered creating their own currency to trade amongst themselves. The downfall of any civilization, one of the signals of the downfall, I would say, is the devaluation of its own currency. And Trump's policies have steadily made sure that the dollar is in slow but noticeable decline. And the war in Iran has sped that process up, to your point.
Yep. And other countries are working together. Do y'all see how the domino effect is going into place? This is how totalitarianism takes over. But do you want to know another word, ladies and gentlemen? The word of the day is called imperialism. Well, we can
Mhm.
destroy an economy the same way Hitler invaded Poland. Do y'all remember that? If you can go in and you can invade and take over other countries and continents who have the resources, this is deeper. He said that this war was for our American children. No, it's not. It's for you to get rich, get a quick rich scheme at the end of the day. Anything that you do is to pocket put for your pockets and to benefit you. And just like you're a
Absolutely.
grifter, your wife is a grifter as well too. And her documentary flopped in theaters. And I'm so happy
And
for it. Love that for
and I
her.
think we have to take a step back for a moment when we talk about people weaponizing their evangelicalism, their Christianity. I'm reminded of who I see as the father of what used to be the modern Republican Party, William F. Buckley. When he wrote his book, I think in the 50s, God and Man at Yale, which I read at this point several years ago. For someone who was a public intellectual like William F. Buckley was, that was one of the first signs of what would be become of what would be his Republican Party. And through people like William F. Buckley, then Ronald Reagan, I would to a degree say W as well, not HW, but W, and of course Trump. They have taken the God and man at Yale concept and have sharpened that sword. So again, I don't want people to think that Donald Trump is off brand for America. He may be for our day new, different, but our day is not America's first day. So the question for me becomes for white people who have the clear majority still, is this all that you want America to be? Is this all that you believe that America can be? That is to say, full of malice, hate, poison, people that practice, that do evil. I want people to understand where Donald fits into the context of American history. He wields that religious sword with tremendous strength and, let's be honest, effectiveness. He's very effective with it, but I trace it back on a popular scale to William F. Buckley and God and Man at Yale, which was his first. It was his first book. I think it came out of not his dissertation, but something that happened in a debate or something at Yale. And that I see as really the ignition that has led to the weaponization that we see today. So Donald is one in a long line of those who have taken Christianity and made it into a bitter poison for essentially anyone that doesn't agree with his interpretation, which is a matter of power.
And that's exactly what he's doing. He's abusing his power and has been for the past 10
Absolutely.
years. I mean, it dates all the way
Oh,
back to when he was in office the first time in 2016. And it is important that
and
people understand. Look at what Lotus Egyptian Flower just said. The reason Germany lost the war was due to the devaluation of its currency. And that's
mhm,
exactly what happened. The Great Depression. We're we're not in a people were saying, oh, we're in a soft recession. No, we're in a recession. We're going broke as a result of going to war with Iran, which should not be. Every time he
no.
sends troops to Iran, it's going to cost us, the American taxpayers. And it's important that people understand where your money is going to. Now, breaking news, a
Mhm,
Republican congressman just said Americans should take two jobs. While you get to go on these lavish trips, we've seen Ted Cruz flee and go to other cities as well. And
mhm.
Pete Kegg's breakfast out here with lobster off of our
Keg's breath.
hard-earned
I like that.
taxpaying dollars. Keg's breath.
Yeah.
That's what I call him. Y'all, Champagne Pete. That's the nickname for him. That's the nickname I've gave him because you have a problem, sir. You can't put that bottle down, and that's clearly obvious. And
Hmm.
if you have the money like you say you do, you can go and get resources. But this is who's running the government. This is who's running every branch of government. So before they try
And
to blame shit, and I think Andre just said this, what they're doing is they're blame shifting. No, it's the Dems. Biden did it. No, no. Biden is not in office no more. Y'all have
mhm.
everything. You have the House, you have the Senate, you have the Supreme Court. Y'all have every branch of government. So no, y'all are the overall trifecta.
They have all the power. We have zero power, zero stroke, no sway in Washington. They have all the power. So everything that has and is taking place is on their shoulders. They are to blame. But I also want to say this, when we mention Donald, I always wonder, he did not become what he is once he came down the escalator. He was what he is now and has always been that. So my question becomes for Democrats in the 90s, early 2000s, that took checks from him, that took pictures with him. The internet has been around for a little while, early 2000s. Word has been around in New York for decades. You could have easily researched and found him not wanting to rent to Black people. You could have easily researched, you probably knew about the full page ad that he took out in New York to execute the exonerated five. Donald was what he is now. So, my question for them, be it people like Congressional Maxine Waters or whomever, why were you not calling him out in the 90s and early 2000s? Why did you wait until now? My essential point for bringing that up is once he came down the escalator and began to use the racist link or the racist trope, President Obama is not an American. That was the norm for
Is
Donald.
she
He had
black
never
or did she
overtly
turn
said,
black?
beg your pardon?
Is she black or did she turn black? He uttered that at the NABJ, which is the National Association of
Absolutely.
Black
Yeah.
Journalists,
Yeah.
about
We
Madam
we
Vice
there are
President
people who
Kamala.
saw through Donald long before he came down the escalator, but not many were vocal Democrats. So I want to bring that up because the situation that America is in now, possibly, it could not have been avoided because this is an anti-black racist country. Why would an anti-black racist country not vote for a racist? Of course they would. That's what this country has traditionally done. But I think there could have been insight given about Donald by those Democrats that took checks from him, that took pictures with him in the 90s, in the early 2000s, to what he really was. There could have been a warning bell that was rang, but there was not. And that is to our tremendous harm and damage.
And for those of you who don't know, Bombshell, his father is also a documented Klansman. And it dates all the way back to 1927 to when he got caught at a free for all, a Klans meeting. What were you doing there? So Donald Trump has had a long standing history of racism. His grandfather, his great grandfather owned prostitutes, if I'm not mistaken, and we're not sex worker, ex worker shaming over his history on YT. We're not doing that at all. But he
No,
comes
we are
from a
not.
long line of men who are grifters, who are
Mm-hmm.
in it for the money. So he learned
Mm-hmm.
this exact thing from his daddy. Children learn the hatred that they're taught from their significant others. And I can
Absolutely.
use Bootsy as an example. His son, Tootie Raw, homophobic and transphobic, refused to acknowledge Zaya Wade for her pronouns the same way his father did. The same way Bootsy
Mm-hmm.
got up there and misgendered Zaya Wade is the same thing that his son Tootie Raw did. And then his daughter refuses to basically have a relationship with the other daughter, which would
Mm-hmm.
be Ivy, the daughter that he said that was contaminated. And we know what this type of rhetoric leads to children who are in the LGBTQ plus community, whose parents won't accept them. This makes them go to self ideation. It goes to so many things. Prime
Absolutely.
example, Bill and
Yes.
Hillary Clinton, they said nothing. But baby, when them Epstein files testimony come out, and to touch to Lotus Egyptian Flowers point, they wanted the case to be public about Epstein. No, Republicans wanted it to be private because y'all would do
Right.
anything to cover the truth. This, and it just goes back to what Andre just said, which is it should have been spoken about right then and there. There's more and more coming out about these Epstein files. There is more and more coming out about Donald Trump's racism. We know that this man is a six-time failed businessman. That should have
Absolutely.
been your
They
key.
America elected a man who filed for bankruptcy 6 times. 6 times. A failure in the business world from that perspective. Yet there were 77 million people in the most recent election who thought that a complete business failure who was convicted of business fraud could run the most powerful economically and militarily country in the history of civilization. That to me says that Trump's presidency is much more of a reflection on those who voted for him than on him. To have the mental perspective that someone who has failed in the business world, whose persona business wise is a facade, can run the largest and most powerful economy in the history of civilization shows to me a mental decay, a neurosis, as Toni Morrison called it, that you cannot deny. So I think we can blame Donald, and we ought to, but he would not be in the position that he is in now if the 77 million hadn't re-elected him. It's on them in the end. So again, my question for white people and the growing Latinos in the evangelical church, is this all that you want America to be for your children, for your grandchildren? Is this all that America can be? A bastion of malice, hate, and poison. Is this what you wanted? And I'd have to say it is because they voted for it.
And they'll say, thank you, because I was just about to say that. They'll say, oh my God, I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. You voted for
Yes, you did.
bigotry. You voted
Yes,
for
you did.
misogyny.
Yes,
Over
you did.
250 years, and a woman has never been president. Vice president, yes, Kamala Harris was the first female vice president in American history of Black and South
Mhm.
Asian descent. She was the first. Shirley Chisholm crawls so that she could walk. And by the way, today is International Black Women's History Month. We've had International Women's History Month, but today is Black Women's History Month. So yes,
Mhm.
Shirley Chisholm crawled so that Kamala Harris could walk. These are two black women who never got a chance. Stacey Abrams never got a chance. Jasmine Crockett in Texas. Yes, I didn't forget. I'm still pissed off about it. Let me calm myself down because I'm not in Texas. I wanted her
Mhm.
to win. But it just goes to show you, y'all not ready for that. Michelle Obama even said, y'all not ready for a woman.
And, and
Y'all not.
and not being ready is a choice.
Yeah.
When you don't want something, when you reject something, that is a conscious, a willful decision, which again, I continue to point out is the norm for America. Going into the 24 election, I would oftentimes have friends say, don't put out into the universe that Donald might win. And I would always come back to this. Looking at American history, can you explain to me why a misogynistic, anti Black racist country would vote for a Black woman? It makes no sense. So I always thought he had, as I would say, an extremely viable chance of becoming president. So that rejection of someone like Vice President Harris was a decision. You're not ready because you've made the choice via hate and malice to not be ready. It wasn't as if they didn't know. It wasn't as if intellectually they couldn't understand. It wasn't as if they did not know in a long time span what Donald Trump is. They made a willful decision to enthrone him, and I use that word intentionally, at the apex of American power to do what they really want done. And what they really want done is what is being done now.
And it was in 900 pages. It was in 900 pages. That's all you had to do.
Absolutely.
Was there were bullet
Absolutely.
points out there. There were slides out there. You didn't have to go through and read all 900 pages. This is
No.
very clear of what his vision for was for America. Black women have given y'all the key telltale signs, and y'all have chosen not to listen to it. And again, it's up to white America. Like Andre said, it's up to
Absolutely.
y'all because your racism
Absolutely.
is costing you. We're seeing the videos of y'all saying, "Oh, I regret my vote," and pulling stickers off of your car. There's one video of a man literally pulling a sticker off of his car because gas prices are going up. Who's to blame for that? You're to blame for that. An interviewer
Absolutely.
asking a woman who
Absolutely.
voted for Trump, she said, "Because I was stupid." You got that right. You got that
And
right. This is what
that's her being kind and generous to herself.
right, because we surely was going to tell it for you, like, you're crazy for voting for this. And Michelle Obama even said it. Farmers are going through it. Oh, don't get me started, Lotus Egyptian flower. How do those eggs, K-Tooks, Bubs, and y'all, I say it all the time, we have a running joke. How do those eggs taste now for you, bitch? I hope they taste good. I hope they
And
taste good.
and one thing I do want to mention, we've been talking about our trans loved ones so much. Trump and anyone who has ever voted for him, not simply in 24, but ever voted for him. People like Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, William F. Buckley Jr., etc., etc. They viewed the trans community as a soft spot, the underbelly, I believe, as a weak link to ostracize them because the trans community is not given the love, the hug, the embrace that every human being deserves, that every human being ought to have. So I want people to keep in mind the perspective behind targeting the trans community. They see the trans community as not being wholly included in the LGBTQ plus community, let alone in larger, wider, more dominant society. So keep that perspective in mind. There's something sinister and evil within the mind that sees the trans community, those that we love, as the weaker link. Therefore, let's target them and snuff them out. Keep that perspective in mind also.
Because they've made us public enemy number one from the commercials and
Absolutely.
everything. And that was a
Absolutely.
fear. Was telling Kamala that like they're winning on messaging. Republicans are winning on messaging because if you say it just enough, you will have people believing that. Like
Now, that's a great point. Let me
at,
say this. That's a fantastic point. I was a Republican, highly active in LA County up until 2017. Actually, 2 days before Donald's election, I changed my registration to independent and then to Democrat in 2020, I should say. On the campaign trail, oftentimes you have your high, or always your high propensity voter, and then you have everyone else. High propensity, as you well know, come hell or high water, they're going to vote. That's your base for your respective party. But for those who aren't high propensity, what will cause them to vote for someone? We saw it time and again on the campaign trail. For example, if they see enough yard signs, if they see enough billboards, they will think, oh, well, I'm sure everyone's going to vote for him. He must be the right person. Let me cast my vote for him. So when you say if someone hears something enough, you're right. If they see something enough, you're right. That's why we must confront the lies at every opportunity, with every waking breath. because most people, Shakespeare said, people are like stones. You can roll them any way you want. Most
Yeah.
people are not uninformed politically, they are ill informed politically. That is why we must convey the truth at every point, because a sign, a billboard, radio ads, which are extremely effective on the right, immensely. Radio may be, with respect to any form of media, their most powerful tool still in 2026, especially in communities that are not urban, your more rural communities.
Yeah.
We must make sure that people know, just because you see the signs, the billboards, hear things repeatedly, that does not, repetition doesn't make anything true. So I'm glad you brought up the point about hearing things so often, making them true for people.
My colleague Deshaun, I just mentioned you. Hey Deshaun, hey boo. And then my brother K Tooks, shout outs to you as well too. Shout outs to my brother K Tooks. Y'all head on over and check out his platform, and we're going to be collaborating with our other colleague Tony Holly. We definitely need to confront the lies, misinformation, and disinformation. Prime example: Nick Cannon, Amber Rose, what they said about the Democratic Party. If you're going to tell a story, tell it all. Don't half-ass tell it, because just that right there, that one click, that one trailer, that one clip.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell the truth about the part, talk about the Republican Party as well too. Talk about their history, Nick.
Right. And I
Do you
also
see?
want to talk about for a moment Abraham Lincoln, who ostensibly freed the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation, when you read the document, says absolutely nothing about the slaves in the northern, the non seceding states. It only mentions slaves in the seceding states. It was a military strategy. In his first debate, in the first Lincoln Douglas debate in 1858, I believe it was, I could be wrong, he said this. Then candidate Lincoln said this, paraphrasing heavily. I state the quote on my podcast, one of the episodes. I am not for giving people equality, black people, that is, equality when it comes to voting, owning businesses, etc. I do not want to make them our equal. Quote, my own mind will not admit that. So when people say it was the Republican Party that ended slavery, they're completely eschewing historical fact and misinterpreting the little that they do know. Lincoln was an anti Black racist. My own mind will not admit that, end quote, in the first Lincoln Douglas debate. Prior to the emancipation, he did have 5 well known Black leaders at the White House, and he said, look, get out of the country. You can't assimilate. White people won't let you assimilate. Let's look at some foreign territories where you can go and exist there. So you can't simply say the Republican Party ended slavery. What Abraham Lincoln did was undertake a military strategy in order to keep the Union together. And it just so happened that the best tool within that strategy was ending slavery for the seceding states, not the states that had not seceded. So I think we need to keep that in mind when we speak of American history. So Nick
Absolutely, and
Cannon
it's important.
doesn't know the first thing about an accurate understanding of American history. He's speaking out of the bounty of his ignorance, willful ignorance at this point.
And it's exactly how disinformation and misinformation get out here. And it's
Mm-hmm.
important, like Deshaun just said, that we tackle that. When Donald Trump took all of
Absolutely.
those away from those people, yes, it is a religious psychosis. And me and Deshaun have been talking about this. There are a lot of people who are using religion. There, and it's mostly white men, and there are some mostly white women. We've seen that at the CPAC. That what was that, a
Mm-hmm.
rally? I don't know what the hell that was, but at CPAC, that's exactly what they were doing. They were radicalizing
Mm-hmm.
white young men and women. We've seen the TikTok videos of them. We're seeing the videos of them out here, and they look to someone like an Erica Kirk. And Erica Kirk,
Mm-hmm.
and I used this analogy about her. I said that
She
she is
loves the
a white
spotlight, doesn't she?
supremacist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She is.
Go ahead and put your tears in your eyes, honey. We ain't mad at you. You ain't no. We
Yeah,
don't care
she
about your husband.
loves the spotlight, the entrance music, the euphoria of being the heir apparent. She loves that.
Yeah, and I think Drewski did an amazing job portraying you, honey. Y'all were rattled, y'all were shook.
Mm-hmm.
But let me talk about Erica Kirk for a minute and what she represents. What she represents is she's a white Christian nationalist in a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful packaged box with a bow on the top and marketed to the world as the widow. She's the widow and she's for God and for the children of God. No, what she is she's a white Christian nationalist. And her husband is a grifter as well too. And he's also racist.
Absolutely.
If she was to do
Mm-hmm.
blackface, she would be racist. You damn right. You damn
Mm-hmm.
right. Y'all have been doing it to us. It's no fun when the rabbits got the GUN, is it? Next, it'll be gearing up to get her next to Sarah Palin. Next, taking away women's
Oh,
rights. Yes,
absolutely.
controlling women's rights.
Absolutely.
It's patriarchy.
Yeah. You know, she reminds me, I can't recall the TV show's name, but there was a TV show that my grandmother used to watch. My grandparents raised me because my parents, for the vast majority of my childhood, were in prison. There was a TV show that my grandmother watched, and I can't recall what it was, but Erica Kirk reminds me of a scene where a character in this show said, paraphrasing, I grew up in the South. I've been to the deep South, to the country many, many times, and I can identify manure quite easily. But until now, I have never seen manure dressed up in such a beautiful, neat, nice package. But it is still just manure. That reminds me of Charlie Kirk's widow.
And that's
She's
exactly
just
what she
manure in
is.
a beautiful package.
And market it to the world as his widow. We
Absolutely.
don't care about him, and I really don't care too much for. I call him a racist podcaster. I don't ever say that man's
Oh,
name.
he
Their
was
idea is
clearly anti-black racist. The statements, the history are incontrovertible. History, the historical record won't be silenced. The statements are there in plain English. I attribute common sense to every American. You understood the words that he stated. You knew what he was saying. You may not like being called an anti-black racist, but I will call you what you support. And you supported Charlie or you supported Donald, Turning Point USA, you are emphatically an anti-black racist. We need to start calling people what they support.
Heritage Foundation too, Andre. Heritage
Oh,
Foundation,
absolutely.
Turning
Yes.
Point USA. They're all
Yes.
aligned together. They're white Christian nationalist societies. Now let me get to Deshaun's point. Let me touch on that. Listen, those white women in the South are stuck in the past. Those people in the South are still stuck in the past. All the Europeans are looking at the Europeans right here in America. And their idea is to have women in the kitchen cooking and cleaning. And if you dare say anything that's out of the norm to them, they will hit you. Well, I'm a quote Gina from Martin. If you want to eat, you better use your feet. Not this woman over here is getting up and cooking and cleaning for you. Because if you think that I'm going to sit up there and do that for you and be, Betty Homemaker, and I'm an independent, or as Kevin Samuels would say, as the late Kevin Samuels would say, a
Mm-hmm.
modern woman. So no, because I'm free thinking, I'm independent. Women that are free thinking and independent, they don't want that. They don't want that. They want
Absolutely
women to
not.
be subservient to them.
Absolutely. They want women, to your point, to what you just said exactly, they want women to be in a subservient, repressive, oppressive position. Just say yes to every command that I give. I think a lot of men view their relationship on the right with women in this way. We are the perfect, he might say to her, fighting combination. I command, you obey. That is exactly what they want. And that has been the American, I would venture to say, the global tradition. But of course, America is our context. That's the history of the country. I mean, historically, we take note of the marriage of President John Adams, and his wife Abigail. We take note of it because of the affection, the love between the two, and because, unlike many women in her era, she spoke up. She would voice her opinion. She was an outlier in that way. We take note of Hillary Clinton when she said, I'm not Tammy Wynette standing by my man, which created tremendous backlash on the right when Pat Buchanan at the RNC in 92 gave his immensely authoritarian-like speech, spewing hate, malice, and people need to remember who Pat Buchanan is. From what I recollect, he's still alive. But to your point, they want women barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. So when a woman of intellect, of accomplishment, does not submit to what they want, that
Crockett.
woman must be snuffed out completely. They did it to Hillary Clinton. She was brutalized viscerally in the 90s. And my fear, it would be even worse for First Lady Obama if she were to ever run, which I know she won't do, of course. But if she
She
were to
said,
even
hang
consider
that
that,
up.
yeah, they would all but hang her in the town square. They would do everything that they can possibly do to, I would venture to say, literally bury her.
Oh yeah, and let me touch on Michelle Obama for a moment. She said she would never run. She said 8 years
Absolutely.
in the House was enough. She said y'all can forget it. Y'all people have been asking her about running for president. Would y'all no? Y'all not ready for a woman as president. She's absolutely right. Y'all are not ready for that. Until y'all
They
unlearn
didn't,
patriarchy and
yeah,
misogyny, we will be stuck right here where we're at with a mediocre 80-year-old draft dodger that is standing up on stage dancing with a fucking sword. That's what we're going to be stuck with. Who has no idea how to govern, how to run a country, who done got us in some deep shit that we can't even get out of. And now our allies
right,
are linking up together. We're fucked. So what are you going to do? You have no plan, President of Peace? Why
no.
this is why they say that most of the wars you have women who are in other countries. The president in Mexico, the president in Mexico is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
The in Japan, a
Most
prime
countries,
minister, a woman.
yeah, most countries have had candidates who've come very close or had female leaders as prime minister, president, etc. But as Ronald Reagan stole that phrase, light on a shining hill, we've never had that. We are supposed to be the most progressive, forward thinking, liberal country in the history of civilization, but we will not elect, by and large, anything except a white male to the presidency. And that, in and of itself, says essentially all that we need to know about what America was, because what America was is what America is. I know progress has been made tremendous, but I don't want to discount what America still is. So, to your point, a female president, a woman president, especially black, is the last thing that America wants. And I would venture to say the last thing that some black men want also.
They don't want a woman. There are
There are
some
some,
in the
absolutely.
red pill space. We're seeing it. They're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
well, mad shit about Kamala, about Jasmine Crockett. And I'm just like, y'all were raised. I'm like, go in the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror for a minute. What do you see? When you look at your skin, what do you see? You see a black man who brought your ass into this world. Do you know that black
Mm-hmm.
women birthed the nation and have birthed the nation since slavery? So for you to sit up here and spit on Kamala Harris, Stephen A. Smith, to spit on Jasmine Crockett, Cartier Mafia, to spit on Jasmine Crockett, to spit on Stacey Abrams, to spit on Summer Lee, to spit on the legacy of Shirley Chisholm, to spit on the work of Carol Mosley Braun. You don't talk enough
Mm-hmm.
about Carol Mosley Braun. To spit
No, we do
on
not.
the work of any black woman. Fonnie Willis is another, the assistant DA, Georgia, when a black
Barbara
woman is
Jordan as
opinionated
well.
and they push back, y'all don't like it. Y'all don't. Well, I don't want to be
No,
led. Who was it? It was comedian Eddie Griffin. Oh, I don't want to. And then you got was Charleston White out here. Oh, I don't want to be led by that broad. I want to be led by. That's the problem right there. See, if you were led by a woman, your ass wouldn't be in this war we're currently in. Goddamn now.
absolutely true. I think a lot of these people, like Stephen A. Smith, they're anti intellectual bit players. They want what they want simply for themselves. This is a ruthless ambition, a ruthless selfishness. They want what they want for themselves, and to hell with everyone else, including those who look like me. But these are anti intellectual bit players who continually speak again out of the bounty, the fullness of their willing ignorance. You can take away your ignorance and fill it with intelligence, or at least facts, by simple research, just by reading. But they persist in their stupidity and their ignorance because they have chosen to. This is their choice. What are they getting out of it? 10 minutes in the spotlight, white likes on social media, checks from different directions. Believe you me, if you are a Black person looking for those things from anyone like Donald Trump, you may enjoy it in the moment, but it will not last. It will not last.
Listen, what do our girl T.S. Madison say? That money is too good, so you're not going to ever
Mhm.
see him speak up for Kamala or speak up for
Oh no.
Jasmine.
Oh
What he
no.
said on the most recent was Sage Steele, who is a Black woman, who is a conservative, where he was like,
Mhm.
Kamala Harris, I voted for her and she disappointed me. I believe it's the other way around. The guy that you're stumping for wouldn't piss on you if you were on goddamn fire, and
Oh
that's
no,
Donald Trump.
absolutely not.
He's saying things
Absolutely not.
that ESPN, these white men and big corporations, they want you to say. They get ratings off of berating African American women who are intelligent, who are
Absolutely.
outspoken.
Yes. Hmm.
It's
Yes,
all
you're
for a
right.
click or a like or a view, as Andre just said. They're trying to brainwash white college students. Oh, and yes, Deshaun, to that point right there, affirmative action. Affirmative action benefits white men. And especially since they took away DEI, they kept calling Kamala a DEI hire. What would you call Keg's breath? What would you call the one that was snorting some baby powder off of a toilet seat? What would you call him? What would you call the one that killed her puppy that just recently got fired? And now her husband came out with these big old long plump mangoes in a photo. What would you call
Right.
them?
These are the most, or some of the most, it could be even worse, but they are some of the most unqualified, ill suited people for any form of public service, be it state level, county, city, federal, any form. But they are where they are because the American people gave Donald Trump the power again to put them where they are. So, again, I ask white people, is this all that you want America to be? Is this all that you think America should be? And I know for some of them, they will say yes, because we don't like gay people and we can't stand Black people. So their answer would be
And
an
women,
affirmative, a
they hate
yes. Oh,
women.
yeah, yes,
And shout outs to Paul Lance for Equity, Andre. And I think you've even covered misogyny on your platform as well too, and how it
a little bit,
affects
yeah.
a whole collective domino effect. To Deshaun's point and to Andre's point as well too. Both men, Andre and Deshaun, they're trying to create a new generation of racism. What they're doing is they're afraid of a white only minority. So that's why you
Absolutely.
see Elon Musk and all of them out here saying, "Oh, we got to populate you." The rating for the birth rates for white women have went down drastically. White women are not having kids like that no more. They're saying, no, no, no. There are some white women out here who are liberated, who are understanding that Black people are oppressed. They're understanding that, as Deshaun mentioned her name in the comments, Monty Matter, beautiful. She's got the red hair and love her nails, by the way, and she is just on it. She understands the history. You guys check her out on Instagram. She understands the plight of Black people in this country. There are white women who are liberated, and when you are a
Hmm.
liberated woman, they don't want that. They want you to be
No,
subservient. America is all about
absolutely.
patriarchy and appeasing these fragile white men, mediocre rich white men, as Chef Scott said in the comments earlier, with tiny little dicks and egos. That's exactly what
What
they
you
have.
what you just said, I'm coming up with my own version of a newsletter. It's called Unmuted. The first piece that I wrote, to the point that you just made, we oftentimes hear that America was founded on racism, on misogyny, etc. The essence of that statement is true, but I think it misses the evil. America was founded to maintain and further white tyranny, white supremacy. The design of the nation was for white tyranny, misogyny, discrimination, etc., etc. So if I'm a white woman, the question that I'm asking for myself historically is, why is the purpose of my existence to have a child, raise that child, when I become a grandmother, to help parent that child to one degree, and then my purpose is done? Is that all that I am here for? A bodily function? Is that the sum total? I always envision being a father, something that I want to be someday. And a lot of people who supported Donald, people like Donald, they go to the crib, they see their daughter in there, 2, 3 months old, and they have to lean over, I would think, and say, there's only so far you can go in this country.
My
You're a
God.
woman. Your condition is you will be subservient to whomever your husband is. There's only so far that you can. So I want to ask, Donald Trump has had, I think, 51 to 55% of white women vote for him in 2016, 20, and 24. Is this all that you are meant for? To submit to someone, to not question someone? Is that it? Are you just a robot? Is that it for you? And I think a lot of those white women, they have disdain for our trans loved ones because you live in a majestic, beautiful freedom. You will not allow anyone, and you should not allow anyone to define for you how you are to pursue your humanity. I think there are some white women who silently look at that and are envious, and that envy leads to contempt. So I think, once again, their targeting, to bring it back to this, their targeting of the trans community is intentional and comes from a perspective that is behind the targeting. I think a lot of white women look at trans people and think, I can't live with that freedom. I can't walk in that power. But I hate that you can. I hate that you do. So I think we need to keep that in mind as well.
Exactly. If it's none for you, that means none for me. And I would make your life miserable.
Absolutely.
And what if I told you
Absolutely.
that Donald Trump is not? Yes, he is an immigrant, and so is Stephen Miller. I call Stephen Miller Squidward.
Their
That's
parents
his
are
nickname.
immigrants. Yeah.
Yes, they look very. Stephen Miller looks just like Squidward off of SpongeBob, and that is my nickname that I give him. I call him Squidward. And then the other one that's behind the shadows as well too, Russ Voigt. Me and Deshaun have a
Mm,
running joke. You guys seen Scary Movie too, right?
mm,
Y'all have
mm.
seen the character Hanson. Russ Voigt looks just like him. So I said, do you mean Hanson and Squidward? I call them both. Yes, they are both white Christian nationalists. And
Mm-hmm.
these men, you guys have seen the story of a man who voted for Donald Trump, who unalived his own daughter because she disagreed
Yes.
with his beliefs. So this is
Hmm.
what they
And
do.
and that's the
Any
that's the
thinking woman.
power element. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're a Christian and you voted for Donald Trump, it's not a matter of, for Donald or anyone like him, of being in Christendom, that larger historic Christian umbrella that encompasses all of the denominations, the sects, the varying belief systems. It is a matter of, if this becomes what they want, which is a theocracy, like Iran is a theocracy, Saudi Arabia is a theocracy, but this would be a Christian theocracy. It's not a matter of those who want a theocracy welcoming every version of Christianity in. It's a matter of interpretation. If you don't interpret scripture in the way that they do, they will push you to the side and alienate you as they have everyone else. So when we talk about Christian nationalism, it really boils down to a matter of power. Who has the power to interpret scripture and have that interpretation be the authoritative interpretation? So I think those Christians need to understand it's not Christendom that they want as the basis for a theocracy. It is their specific individual interpretation of scripture, which may be the opposite of your interpretation, which then means they will push you out. So I think some Christians need to exercise a measure of common sense and discernment and understand that.
And this is deeper than just Christianity. This is
Mm-hmm.
about control. You want to be able to
Absolutely.
control everyone's aspect of their lives, who they date, what they do in their free time, what women do with their bodies. And we are seeing women being locked up for miscarrying. There's a story of a black
Mm-hmm.
woman down here who's well, like a few minutes away from me in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And you guys have seen the story. Her name is Amari Marsh, and Amari Marsh was facing up to 20 years for miscarrying. They were going to charge her with child M, the M word that ends with an R. Yeah, they were going to charge her with
Mm-hmm.
that. She's facing up to 20 years, but due to a jury said, you know what? To
Mm-hmm.
hell with that. Let this woman go. So they're now jailing women for miscarrying. That's what they're doing. This is the handmaid's tale. So when I say this is about control, this is about patriarchy, this is about misogyny, this is about little fragile white men who want to be able to control everybody else's lives because they're miserable and they see everybody else happy, existing, breathing, thriving. You don't want that. So it's if it's
No,
none for me,
no.
it's none for thee. You don't get any. And it's also this argument about oh, it's free speech. What with the whole Jaden Ivey situation, this is not just about free speech. What this is about is you weaponizing your Christianity and using hate, dressing it up as Christianity when it's actually hate.
Yeah, these folks have slutted themselves out and prostituted their faith in Christ for political purpose. What they want is worldly dominance. Nothing heavenly, nothing spiritual. They've opened their legs wide open, welcoming Trump in to give them what they really want, which is an earthly kingdom and not a spiritual nor heavenly kingdom. So for me, absolutely, it's about Christianity, evangelicalism, but more so, it's about a theocracy, which is really the heart, the core of Christian nationalism, with some people like Doug Wilson out of Moscow, Idaho, who is a genuinely and authentically dangerous man. He likes to fight, he's pugnacious. Doug Wilson takes the long view. He is one that everyone should be aware of. But it's really not a heavenly kingdom. They want an earthly kingdom, and they've slutted themselves out in order to gain that earthly kingdom, which has nothing to do with even the most conservative interpretation historically of any evangelical doctrine. Nothing. They've jettisoned what the Bible has said for an earthly kingdom.
And not just that, but the Bible talks about a cash cow. They want their cash cow,
Mm.
and Donald Trump is their cash cow. This man,
He,
there,
he, he's,
you
he's their
heard
wet
his
dream.
spiritual advisor, Paula White, the African Angels. Y'all have seen her. Put her hands, they're praying over this man and they're putting hands on this man. This man is not, y'all are calling this man God. This is not
Mm-hmm.
God. This is not a God that I pray to. What he is a orange piggy. He is a orange fascist. He is a orange tyrant. He is a
Right.
orange demon. And the late Nikki Giovanni called him what he was before she passed, the Honorable Nikki Giovanni. She said this. She said that Donald Trump is a mix of Satan and Adolf Hitler if they were to both conceive a baby together. And she was
Oh my goodness.
absolutely right.
But
He
I
is
will
the
say
antichrist.
this, it could be worse. I have never believed, and I don't believe that Donald is the most racist, misogynistic, et cetera, member of the Republican Party. I look at Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, Russ Voigt, and others. It could be
Oh,
worse, which
Hasten and
is,
Squidward. Okay.
oh yeah, but I Donald's the most popular anti-black racist, but he is not the worst. There are local activists who are on your local water board, your local school board, your city council, who could make Donald seem almost gentle, almost moderate. So again, for me, it goes back not to Donald primarily, but to the people like him who are even worse in some instances, who voted for him and gave him the power to do all that he is doing today. This reflects the American people, primarily the white people and the growing Latino chorus who is a part of the evangelical movement that put him into office. This is about them. And I remember Eleanor Roosevelt said when FDR made his first inaugural speech, he said summarily, I may ask for every weapon that I would need to exercise a war on the Depression, that was the context, as I would wage a war against a foreign enemy that invades America. What he was saying was, if I essentially need to become a dictator, I will. And First Lady Roosevelt said this as people roared in applause. She said this was a dangerous moment. Heavy paraphrase. People don't know what they are applauding. And I bring that up to say this, it's much more, again, a reflection of the country than of one single individual. The elected officials that we put into office, they eat at the restaurants in our neighborhood. They first sit on the city council, school board, water board. They go to the same neighborhood hospitals that we do. They don't drop out of the sky. They are a reflection of the majority that has voted. So as you said earlier, Donald Trump has held up a mirror, and the mirror is a reflection of everyone who voted for him. They don't drop out of the sky. It's us, those that voted for him, that is.
And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And if you go back to your point where you said, a lot of people don't want to read. The rapper J. Cole, remember he got into a whole debate with and was basically disrespecting this female rapper by the name of No Name, where she was saying a lot of our people do not want to read. She wasn't lying. He
Mm-hmm.
got upset with that. And that is the truth. We have to read and understand history because what they're doing is turning back the clock. When they say states' rights or this SAVE Act that
Oh,
he is so, which thank
yeah.
the Lord, it did not pass. What this would have did, what the SAVE Act would have done, a lot of people have been asking me, Miss Stevie, what would the SAVE Act do? Since I'm a trans woman and I occupy the space of woman, that would take away a woman's right to vote. That is the 19th Amendment. Yesterday, the case
Mm-hmm.
on birthright citizenship. So everybody needs to be on pins and needles because the 14th Amendment granted that. So just how we are citizens because we are born here in the United States of America, there are people who immigrant parents who are also born here in the United States. So it puts all of us in grave danger, this decision. So he's
Absolutely.
pulling up to the Supreme Court like you Scarface or somebody. What the fuck that's supposed to do? You
Yeah,
think you're
no
bullying.
president has ever appeared before the Supreme Court as his counsel gives an argument. And that's purely an intimidation factor. And everything you said about the SAVE Act, that's true. That's absolutely true.
It's deeper than just having a voter ID and a marriage license. It's deeper than that. What this is to take away a woman's right to vote because remember way back when where the male vote for count for the entire household. Women could not
Household
vote,
vote.
they couldn't have a
Christian
voice.
nationalists love that. The household vote, as they call it. Absolutely.
That's what this is about. And because Republicans are
Mm-hmm.
losing badly, they're going to cheat by any means necessary. And even if that means attacking mail in voting. And I said this in my stories, I think it was the previous day before when I did my morning walks with Miss Stevie's. You guys pay attention to the stories because I do them every morning at 7 a.m. to 7:30. 30 minutes a day. A sister got to keep
Mm-hmm.
slim. I'm trying to compete with Meg the Stallion. I want my booty to sit up just like hers. It's just so perfect. But anyway, that's another note. Yes, I'm a hottie,
You're
Andre.
looking
I love
good.
me
You're
some
looking
Meg.
good, Miss Stevie. You're looking good. Don't discount it. You're looking
Thank
good.
you. But I, I want you guys, I said this in my stories. What the SAVE Act would do is not only disenfranchise women, but it black people, we've had to pay. Remember, we had to take these literacy tests. We had to do poll tax. I remember one woman during the election wore a T-shirt that said you had to pay $2 for poll tax. Y'all remember those days? So when they say states' rights, Jim Crow, ladies and gentlemen, remember that? Jim Crow? Donald Trump is turning back the clock to each period to where every marginalized group was oppressed. That means black women.
Mhm.
That means black people. That means queer people. That means all of the groups that were marginalized. So it hurts me when I
Everyone
see
but white men, cisgender
there we
white
go,
men, that is. Everyone
hetero
else.
white men, and they can get the
Right,
jobs, they can get the positions. And
right.
we were
White
told to
is the
pull ourselves
default
up by the
qualifier in this
bootstraps.
country. Right.
And look at that. And even in college, y'all are not even getting into college like that. But you're supposed to be. But you know why? That's why you took away diversity, equity, and inclusion, thinking that it would just hurt black people. No, that includes you too, jackass. That means that you
You
won't be
know,
able to get into the colleges and universities as well, too.
you
You have
said
a better
Donald is
but
right. You
go
said
ahead,
Donald's
Andres.
turning back the clock. You said that he's turning back the clock, and you're absolutely right. That reminds me, before he was president, of John Adams, who was our second president. Someone wrote
Yes.
him, I can't recall his name, but a Massachusetts jurist or lawyer wrote to John Adams about giving everyone the right to vote. And John Adams, one of the framers, those that were heavily involved in the founding of the country, the founding generation, he said this to this jurist in Massachusetts, summarily: we cannot give the right to everyone to vote. Why? Because women, boys who are 18 years old, will then be in the same class, the same rank, which would throw everything into chaos, and no one would be satisfied. So, what Donald is doing, trying to intentionally ostracize and disenfranchise maliciously people, goes back to how the country was founded, what the founders intended for America. The founders did not want democracy per se, they wanted a version of democracy. And John Adams' statement in reply to that Massachusetts jurist was, we cannot give the right to vote to women. It must be not to black people. That wasn't even a consideration, actually. That was a foreign thought. So when you say turning back the clock, you are right. America is being returned to its most racist roots. So you reminded me of that when you made that statement.
And it's the truth. I mean, like, you're going back to a time where black people, we didn't really have a voice. I mean, we had to pay
No,
poll tax. We had
and
to
it was
take.
intentionally like that.
We couldn't learn how to read or write during slavery, and if you were caught, you really would get it. So now
Mm-hmm.
that we have the information, it's important that we spread this information to our people, not disinformation and misinformation. Nick Cannon and then Amber Rose, you get to pick and choose which day you want to be black. You deeply embedded yourself into the culture, honey. You're raising black kids and you're using the same rhetoric as
Mhm.
them, white supremacists. You are a paid mouthpiece for them. And we know
Absolutely.
exactly what Harriet, and I use this analogy all the time because I can't say what Harriet Tubman would do, but we know that if she was still alive here and living and helping everybody else get liberated, what would Harriet Tubman do?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
To someone like a Stephen A. Smith, to someone like a Sage Steele, to someone like I don't even know the gentleman that has the blonde hair. You guys have seen him. He's a black conservative, and he
Mhm.
was out there at the White House when Trump threw this so-called Black History event at the White House as well, too. Y'all have seen him a lot.
Remember all of those black, not all, I said there were three or four that I think of, black congressional members who supported Trump to the nth degree. They were stumping from him every which way. But when it came time to give a cabinet position to one of them, he didn't. So for
Byron
all of
Don,
these, yeah, for all of these Stephen A. Smiths of the world, these anti-intellectual two-bit players, what you think you're going to get from someone like Donald, you will never get, which is respect, which is recognition of your worth, Your value as a human being. You're a prop. You're an accessory. You're a tool, which is the right word that you used, a tool for them to be discarded when your usefulness has been worn out.
Just ask Herman Cain. Just ask Diamond
Uh,
and Silk.
his
Herman Cain.
usefulness killed him.
Oh yeah, 99999. Remember that? And you said,
Yeah,
no, we don't do that. We don't do that. And then your ass passed away in the hospital the next few days. Did he show up? Did he call? Did he do anything? Any sort of condolences? He don't do nothing for
no,
you.
no, no. You know, there may be a policy that an anti-black racist president, which is the vast majority of American presidents historically. I think the exceptions would be President Obama, of course, Jimmy Carter. I don't believe that LBJ was an anti-black racist. He was a Southern bigot, but there is a difference. But an anti-black racist is not going to do something intentionally to help a black person. They may get the spillover of the overflow of whatever an anti-black racist does for a white person. And I say that to say someone like a Stephen A. Smith or whomever, your black cousin, uncle who voted for Trump, well, economically he's doing things, you get the spillover. His intention is not for you to benefit. His intention is for you to suffer. But you get that spillover effect, which distracts you and causes you to think that Donald sees you, but you have become a fool, complete and utter fool. Nothing that a racist does is done with the intention, the point to help a black person. And that was the case with Abraham Lincoln and every other anti-black racist that has been in the White House. Woodrow Wilson, Nixon, JFK, Trump, etc., etc.
And the list goes on and on.
Absolutely.
Exact, Chef Scott. Right. So, and Chef Scott said something earlier that I think a lot of people can benefit from. This system is going to have to come down. If you want the system to change, something has to shift. It's got to come down. It's got to
Mm-hmm,
be rebuilt. And it's
mm-hmm.
got to be rebuilt by the people. Because 77 million, I'm going to keep reiterating what Andre said, which is 77 million of y'all, and some of our people thought that it would be
Absolutely.
a good idea to put him back in power because y'all listened to the propaganda. And that's why I say Republicans, they're good with messaging. They got it out there
They're
and they
fantastic.
drilled it down into their heads about immigrants. They're taking your jobs. Trans people are going. You have biological men playing in women's sports. Trans women were not men. We
No,
don't show up and navigate
no.
as men.
You are
So
a woman.
what are you talking about? And they refuse to acknowledge us. Pronouns are offensive to you. You don't want to talk about pronouns. You don't want to respect people's pronouns. So you want free speech to be able to say the mean and evil, dark,
Mhm.
corrupted, hurtful things to people that cause them to do self-ideation and all of the other things. I can't say that word here on YouTube, but if you know, you know. It's all of these things. You can't do
Absolutely.
that. You don't want to see the
It's
humanity,
freedom for me, but
but nothing
not
for them.
freedom for you, as you have been
Exactly.
as you've said repeatedly.
And that's what you want to do. You want to be able to say the things that you can say, or as y'all would say, own the libs. We got to own the libs.
Yeah.
Let's see how everything is being owned now. Are you owning the libs now? Are you, as he would say, are you winning? Are you tired of winning? No, we're not winning. We're losing, and Iran is putting a size 13 boot up our asses. They're kicking
Hmm.
our ass. That's what's going on. We're not winning this war. And your gas is being diluted. You're having to spend $4 more on a gallon. Your eggs are going up. Your groceries are going up. You said, well, it's about the economy. What about the economy now? He's still trying to
Absolutely.
fire the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, who is giving us, the American people, the information on the jobs, on the GDP, on all of these things. And to Pam Bondi, I didn't forget, I'm not taking my heel off of your neck either, girlfriend. You
Good.
thought you were
Good.
exempt. You thought you were exempt? You and Dog Killer, Ice Barbie, Christy Gnome, y'all thought y'all were exempt? Even if you have blind loyalty to a fascist, They will always turn on you because they feel as though you're not loyal enough to them. This
Absolutely.
woman got out here, and I mean, she really licked those boots. I know her
Mhm.
tongue has to be black from all of that boot licking that her and Christy Nome have done. Y'all
Mhm.
pledged blind loyalty to him. Y'all did not uphold the rule of law and the Constitution. Good for y'all. And Christy Nome, your purse got stolen. And whoever took it, I hope they get all of their money's worth because the purse contained $1,000, if I'm not mistaken. I hope they get everything. This is y'all's karma, and I'm not letting my size 13 stiletto off of y'all motherfuckers' necks in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
I think to your point, there's a certain naivete, a certain strong and immense denial attached to some white women who support Donald Trump. They think he won't turn on me. He won't do to me what I've seen him do to countless others. But to your
Ask
point,
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
yes, he
She's
will.
another as well too. Ask the beach blonde, bad built bush body Marjorie. You not off the hook too.
Yes,
You are complicit because you helped
she didn't
usher
believe
in
it.
fascism as well. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Andre. I'm sorry.
she didn't believe it. To your point, until Donald did to them, showing for the thousandth time that he has no loyalty. There's no loyalty, no honor among thieves in the first place. What he has done repeatedly, he will do to anyone. But they seem to deceive themselves willingly, intentionally. If, to your point, I lick his boots enough, if I am subservient enough, if I fight for him personally hard enough, he will be loyal to me.
And
There is no
the
honor
next
amongst
person,
thieves.
the next person who he's going after is a woman, Andre. So
Oh, of
for those
course.
of you who don't know, it's Tulsi Gabbard, who
Oh,
was the
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Russian
That's why she
asset.
hasn't been appearing in public as often. She
Ah,
knows her neck is on the chopping block for Donald.
see the pattern here is all
Mhm.
women. Is Pam Bondi, Christy Nome, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and now Tulsi Gabbard.
She
And
is next.
Christy Nome was replaced by this crazy ass Mark Wayne Mullen, the one who said, "Oh, well, you want to fight? You want?" This is the thing with these racist white men out here. Y'all have to flex y'all's masculinity. Get up in people's
Absolutely.
face.
Yeah.
Y'all have to show that. You have to showcase your strength. You have to showcase that you're a strong man. Again, it's giving little dick energy. Joe
Yeah.
Rogan,
Only
and
a
to
weak man has to do that.
all of these podcast bros in
Yeah.
the red pill space that pander to his base of men who are insecure, who are
Mhm.
fragile, who don't want to see a woman lead, who don't
Right.
want to see people succeed, who don't want to see change. They would much rather it be a world where white men are in power, and that's what we're seeing right
Absolutely.
now.
And that's
So,
what America has been
yeah,
traditionally and still is down to this very day. It was designed for white tyranny, and that white emphasizes white men, not white women. Y'all weren't given the right to vote until much, much, much later. The design of the country was not for your benefit, but for your subservience, for your oppression. And to be a white woman and to not reckon with that is the worst and most pitiful form of self denial. And it helped to put us where the country is today.
and this is where we at currently right now. So before, if he gets up here and say, we're making America great again. No, we're not great. We've never been great. We've never been
No,
great. 400
no,
years. Black people, we have never been great. We have always been told to pick
great
ourselves
point.
up by bootstraps. Let's go all the way back in time to the westward expansion. Let's go all the way back to the 1619 project. Let's go all the way back to the Montgomery bus boycott. Let's go all the way back to slavery, where our ancestors were shackled in chains, whipped. Fetuses were ripped out of the stomachs of pregnant women who are our ancestors, who were slaves as well too. We were fed to alligators. We were eaten for
Absolutely.
delicacies.
Yeah, it is
And black pain,
impossible. Go ahead.
you can make currency off of black pain and suffering.
Oh, and they have. It's impossible to be an exceptional nation, as America has traditionally liked to call itself, when you were founded on As one historian said, massive crimes, namely Native American genocide, which we don't discuss enough, and the institution of chattel slavery, which you were referring to, which is obviously one of the great crimes and atrocities of human history. It is impossible to be an exceptional nation. It is impossible to be the light on a shining hill when you are founded on the destruction of other human beings. When the walls, the foundation, and the ceiling that surround your creation is the destruction of another human being, and that was the design of the country. Black people built the country, but it was built on Native American land, and they were
Yep.
slaughtered by disease and warfare. And that was always the case. George Washington, long before he was president, was a land surveyor to a degree. Thomas Jefferson, to a lesser degree. He didn't want to do anything manual at all. But most of the famous members of the founding generation wanted that westward expansion. And that meant the eradication of Native Americans. And that is what they did. So we built it on their land, and there's one commonality: white tyranny.
Boys love flowers. Hey, baby.
Well,
Great
well, well.
discussions. Wow.
The co executive
Yes.
producer of Thought and Opinion, creator of Boys Love the Radio.
And I'm going to bring you both back on the show, you and
Thank you.
Andre. Shout outs to you, boys love flowers. This conversation has been helpful. And
Thank you.
we
Thank you
both
for having
study
me.
and understand history. And I think a lot of us, to my colleague Bubs the God, I'm pretty sure he's took a lot from this. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you all have taken a lot from this. Yes, these are things that have happened to our people. So
Mhm.
we be remiss if we didn't share this information with people, with
Absolutely.
our, because we're seeing what's going on as it pertains to Nick Cannon, Amber Rose. When you have celebrities who have a large platform, and Nick Cannon has
Mhm.
a large platform, I don't have a large platform. Yes, I have a lot of followers. I have people who follow me, but I don't. I'm not on his caliber as of yet. But eyes are watching. Famous eyes are watching, and eyes are watching. Style
Mhm.
by Stevie. And you have to be careful what information you put out here. So when you go out here and you make a blanket statement saying, well, Democrats are the party of the KKK, let's walk that back now. Elaborate a
Yes.
little bit deeper on it.
Yeah, let's have
Talk
some
about the
nuance in our thinking.
because the Republican Party wasn't always like this. This was a party also that wanted to help people. But it changed when that big orange Garfield looking motherfucker set foot off of that escalator in 2016 and took office. What did he call Mexicans when he stepped off of that escalator? And I can't say that word here on YouTube, but he called them the R word. That's when the Republican Party started to shift. And then throughout the years, you've seen a changing of it. The
Oh yeah,
racism has been
yeah.
bubbling.
I might disagree. I don't think there was a shift. I think there may have been some external shift that was more
Yes,
noticeable.
that's
But
what I
when you
meant to
go back
say.
to Ronald Reagan's 1980 campaign, he said in couched terms what Donald says without couching.
Oh,
Nixon,
Andre,
the
don't
same
tip me on
thing.
couches now, because you
Yeah,
you know that other one. That other one, he fucks couches. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. So don't get me
yes,
started on couches.
yes,
JD Vance, you're not off the hook, boo. But go on, Andre.
yeah. William F. Buckley said things behind closed doors that Donald says out front. His
Yep.
mindset, I think, was more racist than Donald's is, which is saying something. So I would disagree with there being a shift. I think, if anything, Donald is returning the Republican Party to where it came from in the last, especially 100 years or so, with people like Reagan, Nixon, William F. Buckley, Woodrow Wilson. Not Woodrow, I was thinking of someone else, not Woodrow Wilson. But he's returning the party to what it was, just in a much more flagrant fashion. He's one in a long line.
And
I
it's
think we need to keep
loud.
that.
It's, as you
Oh, yeah.
said, where it's behind closed doors. The racism is out loud, and everybody can see it. Like for you
Hmm.
to make these comments about the America's first black president. Is he black or is he, is he black or is he an American citizen? Like for you to question your birther. And
Yeah.
not only that, I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper about his history of racism. See, Elon Musk and Donald Trump believe in eugenics. They
Oh,
believe that
evil,
if it's not, yeah, if it's not
evil.
white and pure, they view black people, they view us as black people, people of color, whatever is on the spectrum, they view
Mhm.
us as filthy and dirty and white is pure. And that's something that I've been reading up on too as well. And it's called Manifest Destiny. And I suggest everybody look over that. If you go and you look at that image, what is it? The great white, what did they call it? Conservatives have a thing, great white replacement theory.
Oh, the
Uh,
replacement theory.
Yes, and
Yeah.
manifest destiny. If you look at that, the westward expansion, they're pushing
Mhm.
out people, Native Americans. They're pushing them off of their land. They're taking land, and they did it in Africa. They're doing it in all of these places. Remember, he invited all of those white South Afrikaners over here,
Oh
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
left black refugees, left them alone, but invited white South Afrikaners over here. So his racism is deep. He believes in eugenics, and so did Hitler, and so did Mussolini.
Yeah. Eugenics, has a long history with people like Donald Trump, Theodore Roosevelt, Helen Keller. They all held to eugenics as a way to purify society, as to snuff out the bad people. And to your point, Donald made his eugenics quite clear with certain comments on the campaign trail about Vice President Harris and certain comments since. And eugenics is an evil. It is a poisonous thing meant to eradicate people. First, you ostracize them by way of showing that they don't belong. They're possibly a threat, pushing them to the side and then destroying them. But you're right, that's a fantastic point. They hold to eugenics and they don't hide it. They
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 want it to
they
be quiet.
absolutely.
Kegsbreath just said it when he let go of those, when he strike those two black female sergeants, what is it, in the military? He said
Yes.
Donald Trump wouldn't be caught dead standing next to a black woman. Well, I do you one better, Kegsbreath. On that stage at the debate, Kamala literally, he would not look her in her eyes. Body language is very telling, and that's something that I pay attention
Absolutely.
to. Audra.
Great
He
point.
would not look her in her eyes. She came from behind the podium because if you're doing a debate with someone, you shake hands with the person you're debating. And it's a
Mhm.
good, healthy, clean debate.
Right.
He didn't do that. She came from behind the podium and came and shake his hand. And it caught him off guard because he was not expecting that. You can't even stand to look at a black woman in her face. You can't
Yeah.
even stand to look at black people, but you can hug Kanye West. Yes, if they're on your side and they're tap dancing, they're shucking and jiving, and they're
Mhm.
spewing the things that you can't say to his people, the people that look like him. Oh, you're all right in his book. What did he say about Byron Donalds? Byron Donalds was one
Oh.
of the good ones.
And
Byron
that
is one of the good ones.
that point is so well made. That reminds me, Theodore Roosevelt, who called black people, quote, the backwards race, end quote. And some will say, well, yeah, he said that because it's on record. But he did have, I can't, I think it was Booker, I think it was Booker T. Washington, whom he had at the White House,
Yep.
because he viewed him as the exception to the rule. He's not one of the backwards members of the backwards race. He's more advanced. I think that's how Donald views people like Kanye West, Byron Daniels, however you say his
Herschel
first name,
Walker.
and
Oh,
other
yeah.
people. Yeah, they are the exception to the rule. And the rule for Black people is that we can't govern ourselves, that we are backwards, but you do have the exceptions. I'm pretty sure he views us in the same way as another anti-Black racist, Theodore Roosevelt, did.
And that's exactly that. They don't think that. That's why, and you said as intelligent. That's something that he always talks about as well too. What did he say about Congresswoman Maxine Waters? What did he say about LeBron James? What did he just recently say about Jasmine Crockett? Maybe these two women should take an IQ test. So you're
Yep.
always, that's something they've been doing since slavery, is
Yeah,
they've been
going
wanting
back to eugenics. Yeah.
to be dumb. They want the white race, or they would say the white race is the superior race, and
Hmm.
the colors, because that's what they would refer to us as, to not be this etiquette. Adequate, is that the word? To be this knowledgeable, to be this
Hmm.
intelligent, to be all of these things, and not know the game and how it's supposed to work, and share
Right.
this information with our people. They didn't want us to learn how to read and write. We couldn't
Oh
do that.
God.
And if you were caught, you were forbidden to do that during slavery. And if you were
The o-
caught,
right. The
yeah.
only means was the Bible, as it was forced upon us, and it is still one of their chief tools to oppress us and to beat us into line. I know I probably shouldn't say this, but Easter coming up Sunday, I always wonder, why do Black people go to church on Easter? That may seem like a radical, wild, extremist thought, but this was a religion that was forced upon us, not one that we brought over, but was shoved down our throats and made as the primary means to show yourself as worthy, to show yourself as advanced, as valuable. That question always crosses my mind, especially when we have days like this Sunday coming up. It continues to be a weapon that is utilized to devastate the LGBTQ plus community and Black people in general if you don't fit in line with a white person's interpretation of a biblical text. So I wanted to throw that in.
And that's exactly that. And now our own people are doing the same thing that they did to us during slavery. And that is what Jaden Ivey and what's the gentleman's name from Beauty and Black, Xavier, where he said gays are an abomination. And you know a man shouldn't lie with another man. Well, the Bible also quotes that a man shouldn't have more than one wife. But if you're another in another country, then you can do that. Oh, you can have more than one wife. You shouldn't commit adultery. You shouldn't be stepping outside your marriage. But some of y'all football players, y'all are doing that as well too. And hell, y'all
Mhm,
hit up some of the dolls. Y'all hit up some of the girls. Y'all hit up us, the
mhm.
White House.
But they don't want that to come to light though. They,
Not at
they don't
all.
want that discussed. I think we need to always, when we discuss Christianity, evangelicalism, the Bible, Christendom at large, I think we should always ask ourselves, is the Bible the very word of God? Is the classic evangelical doctrine of biblical inspiration true or not? Again, for me, it's not. The Bible is an historical text like any other historical text, the Apocrypha, Shakespeare's plays, etc., etc. If you espouse a Christian worldview and you cannot defend biblical inspiration or inerrancy or infallibility, or if you don't even know what those terms mean, you should not voice your faith in public. Voice it at home when only you can hear it. If you can't extrapolate the hypostatic union, total depravity, the intricacies of the Trinity, if you can explain to me in clear terms the evangelical doctrine of justification as it relates to salvation, then do not voice your faith in public because you are speaking out of complete ignorance regarding things that you say you care about, but you show it no love and no devotion by way of giving it no attention. So I think we need to bring it back to you say you believe this, now explain biblically your basis for believing it. And I would guarantee 7, 8, 9 out of 10 people will not be able to do that. They will not be able to explain what does it
Well,
mean when someone comes to rest? Christ? What does the word rest mean? Why is that word in specific used? What is the vicarious nature of the atonement? What does the word atonement mean? If I pronounce it at one mint, what does that mean? Yet you are forcing upon us a moral code derived from a book that you cannot even explain. You cannot explain why you believe that Christ is the absolute, unequivocal, only way of salvation because you can't explain the doctrine of salvation. So these people are some of the most pitied people you can know. They speak of things that they know nothing about.
Exactly. And even if it pertains to policy, you ask them what is something that Donald Trump has done to help us. First thing they go to is, well, they got those men out of women's sports, the
That's it.
immigrants. They'll
Mhm.
they'll shift to that. And it's just like none of this is going on. Um, Immigrants were here to help this country. These people are coming in to
Well,
seek asylum.
only non-immigrants are Native Americans. The rest of us are immigrants, historically speaking.
Yeah. And that
That
14th Amendment, but if the Supreme Court rules the way they want him to, which I have knots in my stomach about, because if they can overturn Roe, trust and believe, don't
absolutely.
sleep. Be on pins and needles and alert, because that
Yes,
pertains to us black people too.
absolutely. Just because he's not directly coming for us at this moment doesn't mean we're not next on his agenda in an even more overt way than he has already demonstrated. So that's a great point you make. Fantastic
And
point.
that's they've already began. The coming for black people hasn't stopped. This year
Oh yeah.
alone, 300,000
Welcome to
African
America.
American 300,000 African American women lost their jobs as a result of this regime. This is not an administration. It is time to start using the language. This is
Mhm.
fascism. This is textbook fascism. And his first wife said that he kept a copy of Mein Kampf on
Yeah.
their nightstand on the bedside. So he has studied Hitler's playbook. The Heritage Foundation have been crafting Project 2025 for centuries. They have been
Mhm.
crafting this. This is not, oh, it's just new. No, they've been
No,
planning.
no, no. I mean,
The thing
the
is coming
Heritage Foundation was the intellectual authority in the Republican Party, long held as such. They could not get certain things passed via Ronald Reagan. That's why I say Donald Trump is their wet dream. He is what they have longed for, and he is now here. So all of those things that eluded them during the 80s, during the W era, in the 2000s, especially in the HW era, they now want, and they will not rest until they get it. Yeah, so to your point, the document may be a first in and of itself, but documents similar to, and the perspective, the planning, the wants, the goals have been there since the beginning of the foundation, the Heritage Foundation, that is. This is nothing new, people. You just may be noticing it for the first time, but it is not new to American history.
and before we wrap, because oh my God, bingo, we did a 2 hour show with Andre, and I hope you guys have been
It
engaged
was two
in the
hours.
conversation. We did over 2 hours. My God, I'm looking at the top. And before we close, this whole conversation today is centered around bridging the gap and having these conversations to bring awareness. Now, I'm going to bring Andre back again this year, and I'm going to
Thank
forward
you.
him those dates. And I hope you
Thank you.
guys all take something from that. In the meantime, I need you guys to go and check out Boys Love Flowers. Shout outs to
Yes.
Boys Love Flowers and Boys Love Records. Shout outs to Andre, Thought and Opinion. Make sure you guys subscribe and please go check out the podcast. The same
Thank
conversations that
you.
I have here on my platform are the same conversations that even though, y'all call me the fashionista, the fashion girl, yes, but lately I've been very political about what's been going
Mhm.
on
I've noticed
because
that.
you can't be quiet about it. Yes, I love fashion. I love fashion. I love hair. I love makeup. You're going to get that all the time. But we have to focus on real life issues right now because they coming for all of us. I'm a black,
Yeah.
I'm trans, and I'm a woman, and I'm in rural South Carolina. So
That's dangerous
Lindsey
territory,
Graham,
honestly.
yes, Lindsey
That's
Graham
that's
and Tim
dangerous.
Scott. You got Lindsey Graham and Tim's, and I'm being vocal. I'm the only one down here that that's using their voice and a platform to be
Thank you for
vocal
that.
from the Carolina area.
Hmm.
That so I'm thankful to be able to link up with people like you, Andre. But I
Thank
say
you.
that to
And
say
same
this:
here.
this is what bridging the gap and community looks like. It's going to take all of us to use our voices and platforms. So to anybody, because I get DMs, and I'm pretty sure Andre and Boy Loves Flowers as well too, from people within our community saying, "What can we do? We're scared." And I know
Mhm.
when he won that night, I dreaded it. I dread 2024, the election that night that he won. I said I don't want to watch the election results because I was watching the polls. I was watching, oh my gosh, he's up in the polls. People saying don't trust the polls, everything. And then I found that night that he won. And the messages that I got from people are, uh, what do we do? We're scared. We use your voice. I was one of the ones that was scared too. But now a fire is lit inside me, and I'm just like, what do I need to be scared of? I'm a Scorpio.
It
Scorpios are fearless.
That's what I wanted to say. My last bit, and thank you for having me on. It's been a real honor. For our trans loved ones, this is not the time to fold. This is not the time to be reticent. This is not the time to give in. Do not wilt when the criticism comes. This is the time, as Miss Stevie said, to voice your opinion, to give voice to your intellect, to fight with your community organizing, your gathering of family and friends to make sure they go and vote on the right side. I'm not in favor of just voting, period, but on the right side. But most of all, for our trans loved ones, do not fold, do not get weary, do not give in. On behalf of Boys Love the Wait Radio, we love you. We embrace you. We are here for you. Whatever need you have, we will stand with you. We know that you stand with us, but do not have fear above all. So I want to make sure, because I think this moment demands that.
Absolutely. And please know that you're not alone. And there are women who are just like me, who look just like me, who are also out here on the front lines fighting for you. And they have
Absolutely.
much larger platforms than mine. My sis, Hope Giselle, you've got none other than, and I call her, please send this to her and let her know I gave her this moniker. I call her the the godmother of the LGBTQ plus community. She is the
Mhm.
mother of the LGBTQ community, and that would be T.S. Madison. You have her.
She does a lot
Maddie's
of work
able
for us, a lot of work.
she's able to get into the spaces that well, sometimes I'm able to get into these spaces too. I'm not going to say sometimes, but I'm able to merge and cross
Mhm.
and have intersectionality with some of my guests, some of them who are heterosexual, who are understanding. And I make sure I'm like, I can't exclude my community or leave them out. So if I'm going to
No,
cover corner, I'm going to make sure that every corner is not, left unturned. I'm going to make sure that I include everybody. So the same way that Madison is able to get into these spaces, I'm going to make sure that every space is covered as well too, as much as I can. And with me being having little to nothing with no resources and doing this independently right here in South Carolina. So even like
but you
Andre said,
have
it's
impact. Don't discount
yes.
the impact, the effectiveness that you have with your platform. Don't
And
discount that.
And I'm like, we got Lindsey Graham and we got Tim Scott and we all know that Miss Ladybug Lindsey Graham is in the closet somewhere. So that's one thing that I can agree with Megan Kelly on is that baby, you just need to come on out the closet. We know you got a pair of pups over there, sis.
Lindsay is so comfortable in the closet. He's got a pillow, a blanket. He's comfortable, very comfortable. And those
Very.
constituents that reelect him every time, I do
And,
not
and
get.
in my red state, I'm a blue dot in a red state, and I think white people overwhelmingly down here, they will vote against their own interest.
Oh,
They're very
absolutely.
prejudiced
Yeah.
down here.
Hmm.
They'll smile in your face and they'll be your friend. But
Hmm.
when it comes to voting, and I said this to one of my colleagues real quick before we wrap, Andre, Deshaun, I said this: a white person in a voting booth is a very dangerous tool because you do not
Oof.
know how they're going to vote, if they're going to vote with you or if they're going to vote against you. And then you see them. If you know them personally, you'll see them on the news, and the interviewer is asking them, "How did you vote in this election? How are you getting what you wanted?" And then they'll do the same thing that that young lady did, which is, "I was stupid," or they'll rip the
Yes.
sticker off the car. They voted for Trump. I had someone, my third grade teacher. Her family has a farm. Me and my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother, we were all in the car. It was, the women in the family. We were going shopping somewhere, and we were driving past Denmark, South Carolina.
Hmm.
So I look in the yard before it was the Trump Vance 2024 sign. Drive there a few days after, and the sign is taken down, y'all. Are you getting what you voted for? I hope you are. And to the farmers, as Chef Scott said, you're suffering tremendously as a result of your vote. Your vote has harmed people. So no, as it pertains to black people, you wanting our forgiveness. No, we can't forgive you. You have done the unthinkable.
No,
We have
no.
warned y'all and told y'all that everything that you think that you're going to get, you're not going to get. You have been conned, you have been duped. And I just wanted to close the show out with that. In order to fight fascism, it is going to have to be white people putting themselves on the line. Black people, and a white woman said this, a white woman who, has been around since World War II. She said this. She said that black people, when the No Kings protest was going on, she said, black people don't need to be out here. We already know
Yes.
what they're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
we already know what they're gonna do. Black people have
Hmm.
done the work. It is our turn now to follow in their faith and in their footsteps. We got to do what we got to do. So to see the white people who are out here, who are radicalized, who are fighting for the right side of history, salute to you. The ones that are not, that are continuing to listen to the propaganda about the immigrants and the trans people, and I'm seeing some of y'all waking up. I can tell you who's not in those damn Epstein files. Miss Stevie. I can tell you who's not in those damn Epstein files. Boys love flowers. I can tell you
Absolutely
who's
not.
not in those damn Epstein files. Laverne Cox. I can
Hmm.
tell you who's not in those damn Epstein files. Andre Hollins, over here to my right. I can tell you who's not in those damn Epstein files. Bubs the God. Notice the trend here. I named all
Absolutely.
LGBT creators. J Inclusive is not in the Epstein files. Deshaun Stalin is not in the Epstein files. I can name someone else
Hmm.
who's not in the Epstein files. Zoe Saldana, who is a woman of
Hmm.
color. Eva
Hmm.
Longoria, who is a woman of color. They're not in the Epstein files. But we can tell you who is, though, and it is that fat, orange, deep dish, pizza shaped motherfucker in the White House right now. That's who's in the Epstein files, mentioned over 1,000 times.
Hmm.
And he's got his hands all up and through the cookie jar, trying to cover up every piece of evidence. So remember
Absolutely.
that the next time y'all say that it's the immigrants or the trans people, it's not us. Take a
No.
look in the mirror. It's a you thing. It is a white privilege thing. It is a white supremacy thing. And it will all circle back to you having to fix the problem. And I wanted to close the show out with that. So, with that being said, Andre, any more final thoughts?
That's it. Thank you for having me. This has been highly enjoyable, informative. It's been an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
You too. Make sure you guys go and check out Andre's book, Unmuted. Go grab you a copy of it.
Yeah,
Again,
it's my newsletter, which will be released. My version of a newsletter, which will be released in probably a couple months or so. I'll have one article as an attachment for each podcast episode. And thank you to Boys Love Flowers who came up with the title for my newsletter, Unmuted. He's
and
highly
I'm
creative, intelligent, highly.
Yes. Salute to Boys Love Flowers and Boys
Yeah.
Love the Radio for arranging this, because he spoke so very highly about you. And what's so crazy is I had on a Halloween costume. It was my birthday and we celebrated a huge milestone. I think it was 900 interviews the day after I hit the nine. I think it was 900, or that was the 900th episode. And he spoke very highly about you and just the whole franchise and how important it was to have representation and being in the LGBTQ plus
Yeah,
community. So we
every show on Boys Love the Radio, Black, Gay, and Retired, Mask, and the other
yes.
shows to come, there is something for everyone who is a member of the LGBTQ plus community on Boys Love the Radio. There's information for any need, any want that you have on the network.
And this is what we have to do, create our own
Mhm.
spaces. We've got Gay
Yes.
Magazine, we've
Yes.
got Pyro Media News Network. And there's so many others. We have to create our spaces because what they're doing right now with this new merger, Warner Brothers and Paramount, they're going to stop being able to control the flow of information.
Absolutely.
They're going
Yeah.
to be able to control what you see. They're erasing black, queer, woman, anything
Mhm.
that is, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't want to see it. They want it to be
Right.
just white men and media. Even
Right. Oh, and
when they fired and let go of Joy Reid.
another example. And I did want to say about Boys Love the Radio, and everything you said is right. The show called Mask, MASC, period, is hosted by Marcus Sanders. It is arguably the most intriguing and educational podcast in America. Marcus is a trans brother and discussing topics like you do from the perspective of being trans with respect to femininity, masculinity, what it's like to go through the holidays, what level of loneliness is there, etc., etc. Please go to Mask, MASC, hosted by Marcus Sanders. I think everyone can greatly benefit from that podcast. So, and again, to the trans community, you cannot fold, you cannot tap out, you cannot give in. This is the time to be more vocal, to fight more than we have in recent years. But thank you
Absolutely.
for allowing me on your show. This has been a real honor.
You are so welcome, and it was such an honor to be here with you and both of
Yes,
us understanding the history. And I'm pretty sure I can't wait for my colleague Bubs to go live. I'm pretty sure he is going to dish on this
good.
conversation, and I want you two to collab and do something. I know it is going to be magical. I'm giving you the warning because Bubs is petty.
I like laughing.
Y'all, Bubs, we don't call him the leprechaun for a reason. We call him our little leprechaun, but he is funny. He will make you crack. It was one
Good.
night we was on a panel, and I was trying to land the plane, and he made this silly face and threw me completely off. So he will try to get you. I'm letting you know now.
I welcome it.
He is the
I
trouble.
welcome it.
So
Bring
he's
it
going
on.
to make you laugh. So y'all make sure y'all head on over, subscribe to Bubs to God. Much love to each and every one of you. And tomorrow you guys will be getting two shows. We have Ellen Knight and Ellen Margareta Norden. And yes, he is one of our faves. So make sure you guys go and check it out. And to you, make sure you guys go and check out Unmuted and Thought and Opinions podcast. Boys Love Flowers. Boys Love the Radio. Make sure you guys go and subscribe and check out their platforms. And I will bring Andre back on the show, so stay tuned.
Thank
So
you.
special thanks to you and thank you, Andre. Such a great
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you.
You too. I love you
Bye bye.
too, girl. Take care, Chef Sky.